I've always been fascinated by old buildings. Maybe you're surprised, maybe not. If I hadn't felt called into full-time Christian ministry, I would have become an architect. As a teenager, I had a collection of books all about Roman and Greek architecture, and I loved learning about the difference between Ionic, Doric and Corinthian columns. Maybe a bit nerdy, you think, but I loved it. I was given a draftsman's drawing board and quickly learned how to draw house plans, whilst being careful to refer to local building regulations, of course. This is as a teenager. To this day, there are still at least 2 buildings standing on the Isle of Sheppey that I designed and drew plans for at that young age. Impressed? Sarah and I have been members of the National Trust for years. When my children were young, there may have been occasions when they weren't really appreciating so much looking around another ancient relic, but now at least one of them has taken the plunge and is herself a member along with her family. One of the interesting things about coming to Quainton and Oving was the extraordinary history attached to the church buildings. The first time we walked into Quainton Church, the sense of history was tangible. But more than that, in both All Saints Oving and Holy Cross and St Mary Quainton, God has been at work in these churches for more than 700 years. That's quite something, isn't it? Within these walls, which were built to the glory of God, people have found acceptance, forgiveness, hope, love, peace, and new life as the work of the church has impacted the communities around them. What a privilege to continue that tradition. It seems possible that the Order of Knights of Hospitaller were responsible for the 1340 rebuilding of Quainton Church on the site of an earlier church with roots in the Saxon period. The Hospitallers are also credited with building the preaching cross that stands on the village green. They appeared in the early 11th century during the time of the Benedictine Reform as a group of individuals associated with the Amalfitane Hospital in Jerusalem, where they provided care for the sick and the poor, or the injured, the people who came on pilgrimages to the Holy Land. This Catholic organisation was influenced by the effects of the Reformation, and later many of them became Protestants as a result, expanding into the church in England and developing their desire to serve the poor and needy. Brilliant, commendable. The main feature of interest at Quainton is the large number of historic monuments that crowd the interior. Among these are fascinating memorials of the Dormer and Pigott families, as well as a lovely monument to Dr. Richard Brett, one of the scholars responsible for translating the King James Bible. Dr. Brett served as rector here in Quainton for 42 years before his death in 1637. There are several memorial brasses, the earliest of which is to an unnamed girl, died 1360 roundabout. There are further brasses to a priest and a local man. In the north aisle is a monument of Richard Winwood, who founded a row of almshouses in the village that still stand today. Winwood's statue is shown reclining and dressed in armour. All Saints Oving is the oldest building in the village, dating back to the 13th century. An earlier wooden church was probably there on the site. The nave, chancel, lancets and north and south aisles are 13th century. The east chapel is 14th century and the tower was completed in 1674. Local tradition has it that Oliver Cromwell watered his horses in a spring near the church, and would have also seen royalists and roundheads passing through, sometimes going right into the church to take refuge from their opponents. It's a privilege to serve the church and community within such a rich historical tradition, and to discover new ways to communicate the unchanging gospel message, which is at the heart of all we do. Anyway, I was soon to face the question, to chasuble or not to chasuble? I settled on a solution. Coming up next.